Ну что ж. Так, это плохо, очень плохо. Так, ну я думаю, против этого босса лучше всего быстро его завалить. Давай, ноги, ноги. Ой-ой-ой-ой-ой. Нам капитально плохо. Лечимся. Так, нацеливание. Да не шевелись же ты. Долбаные лучники. Так. Хорошо, спасибо, сам снес своего же. Ох, блин, эти лучники так и прут. Я здесь, походу, только ими буду заниматься, наверное. Так, ладно, давай, давай. Валим ногу, валим ногу. Готово. Тихо, 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 тихо. Нам нужна нога. К рукам подходить опасно. Очень опасно. Готово. Так. Так, ну поскольку к рукам подходить опасно, давайте используем огненные шарики. Огненные шарики. Шарики. Готово. Там как же мог промахнуться? Стой ты ровно. Так, подлечимся. Так, все. От руки избавились. Так, иди сюда, долбаный лучник. Так, маны нет. Выпьем ману. Есть. Еще один верный залп. Еще один и все. Готов.
Burning. How did I do that?
Captain, I think it's time we talked about a promotion.
We don't have time for this, Vulcan. We need to move out before the rest of them get here.
The passes are probably crawling with them already.
There's a passage to the other side of the mountain. It will lead us to the swamp.
The swamp? Oh, that sounds fun. Hey, did anybody see what I just did to that huge fucking monster? I mean, seriously, I fried that thing. I saved our asses, and you're all just, hey, what's for lunch?
I said shut it, Vulcan.
thou hast fled.
What the?
Thou didst hold the power to face the necromancers, yet thou didst flee.
I had no choice.
No choice. Hast thou even thought of choosing? Thou art fled like a thief, and thou hast left me, a shadow of myself, trapped here in this prison.
I did not create this situation. I'm not even sure I understand what has happened.
The hour for questions is past. Thou must act. It is I who will suffer for thy cowardice. I who will pay for thine fault. I who will face extinction. And if I must die, if the flame is extinguished, our world will die as well.
I will not let the flame die. I am in a war against these necromancers, and at last I have the power to fight them.
What dost thou hope to accomplish in this ridiculous human shell? As it is now, it is useless to us. The flame is not a toy for mewling infants. It exists to reign. Its power must not be stolen from thee. We must reconquer the world heart as swiftly as we may.
Hey, Vulcan, enough of your daydreaming. Move your ass, huh?
Buffalo.
Да. Что-то я тоже с этого разговора ничего не понял. Но единственное, что я понял, что это и есть то существо, которое в нас вселилось. Ну и посмотрим, что будет у нас дальше.
Vulcan, you hear me? Pull your finger out.
Huh? Yeah, I hear you. My head feels like a bomb went off in it.
Well, shake it off. We're still not at the end of this stinking swamp, and I'm not gonna carry you all the way to the village.
Anyway, how come Hawk isn't the one with me here? He's the lead scout. I always go with him.
Hawk is covering the back of the line. So this time, I'm the one who goes with you. You'll get over it.
Угу. Значит, у нас тут еще и выбор дается. Так, ну, не будем грубить, я это не люблю. Только в экстренных ситуациях, так что...
Let's go.
Спокойно идем.
You lot are about as discreet as a herd of hunchbacks.
I thought that elves were supposed to have superior eyesight. Do we look like stiffs to you, dickhead?
Not yet. But with an arrow sticking out of your throat, I'm certain that even a chatterbox like you could do a passable impression.
And you'd be the next one down.
Possibly. Perhaps I should aim for the largest target first.
Not if you want to keep both your balls.
What have we here? Buffalo in person. Well, that's a good sign.
What's going on here? Who's the scrag with the pointy ears?
Thanks for noticing. I try to keep them sharp. I am called Relmar. And I gather the red-faced fat belly with the filthy beard is none other than the famous Elric, leader of the Freeborn Blades.
They call me the Captain.
All the Freeborn Blades call you Captain Elric. I have no doubt that they do. As for me, I've never had much interest in titles or in military protocol. I judge people by their deeds.
Так, что нам с ним сказать? Капитан Солончай. Так. Давайте так. Что ты делаешь на этих болотах?
And what are you doing down in the swamps, besides threatening honest mercenaries?
Looking for you. Well, I began by searching for the Red Scribes. Prince Arundel is wounded. We had to withdraw to Valvanor, where I learned that you were expected. I just wanted to make sure you found your way there.
This is not my first walk in the wilds, arsewipe. As you can see, I'm on the right path, and we've nearly reached our destination.
Captain, those creatures I told you about this morning are gathering nearby. They're probably getting ready to attack us.
Ah, well those are called chrysalids. They wait until they have gathered enough numbers, and then they overwhelm you. And it would seem your little group is attracting a whole swarm to the village.
Well, we'll give them a welcome.
Actually, in spite of themselves, these creatures do an excellent job of keeping dead walker scouts away without raising any suspicions. If we allow them to gather here and then massacre them, I fear we'll be moving their territory a bit too close to Valvanor, which will lead to our being discovered sooner or later. I suggest we send 1 or 2 men back. This will keep them separated and occupied, while the rest make it to the village. I'm ready to volunteer, if you fear I might try and slip away. I know the area well.
Sounds like a plan to me. Vulcan, you're on it.
I want to go too. The animals and plants in this swamp are extraordinary. And the venom of these chrysalids seems very interesting. I'd love to get a chance to observe them more closely.
Sybil, that is out of the question. Have you lost your mind? It's too dangerous.
Так, ну и нам дают выбор, с кем пойти. Ну что ж. Давайте возьмем с собой девушку. С ней будет хотя бы приятней идти.
Come on, let her off the leash. It'll be good for her. I promise I'll bring her back in one piece.
Vulcan, rule number 2.
We'll see you at the village.
Sybil!
See you later.
Так, пиромант. Ага. У нас есть новые навыки. Так, ну мы их распределим, разумеется, но чуточку попозже. Так, что у нас? Ага, у нас новое оружие есть. Ну что ж, наденем. Новые кинжалы. Красиво. Так, а это что? А, понятно. Модификация. Буду знать. Хорошо. Так, ну а теперь перед тем, как отправляться туда, давайте поговорим с данной девицей.
Sybil, can I talk to you?
Yes?
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
What do you want to know?
Ого, сколько вопросов. Ну давайте по очереди разберемся с ними.
So Alas is your father?
Yes. And yes, he is the leader of the Red Scribes.
That's handy for you.
You are so predictable. Daddy's little girl can do whatever she wants, right? Don't fool yourself. I'm endlessly having to prove myself more than any other scribe. My father doesn't treat me better than the others, and I expect no less from him.
At least that explains why you look like you just stepped out of a library. I guess he encourages you?
Yes, of course. But I'm big enough to make my own choices. Knowledge fascinates me, and I suppose it would have been like that whoever my father was.
Can you tell me more about your order?
Of course. The Red Scribes are an order of sages. Our quest is to find the answers to all the great mysteries of this world.
And so you know about magic?
We study magic from an essentially theoretical viewpoint, but we're not an order of magicians. Even though some of us practice healing magic, but we have nothing to do with the destructive power magic used by the Lords of the Frozen Shadows. And we know very little about that domain, unfortunately.
I see. But that doesn't mean you can't research it, huh?
Obviously, especially now. Any knowledge which would help us turn this war around would be helpful. But according to our archives, we were already studying magic more than 5 centuries ago.
Oh, really? What do you know about the Ice Lords?
As much as it is possible to know without having met them. In some ways, they're quite fascinating, even though the term might seem inappropriate.
Perfect. How do we kill him?
If I knew that, do you think I would keep it to myself? But I can tell you this. we do believe it's possible. We know that there are 7 lords: Black Storm, Lady Crystal, Marshal Winters, the White Lady, Lord Blackfrost, the Chiller, and the Ice Duchess.
Everybody knows that. We've had our asses kicked by them enough.
For sure. But in the past, there were more of them. Some scrolls talk of 9 or a dozen, even of 30 lords. Of course it's confusing, and I doubt they would have freely given the information of how to kill one of them. But you can bet that some of them have died. We just have to discover how.
Where did they come from?
Most people believe that the lords appeared recently, at the beginning of the war. But I have found certain scrolls that lead me to believe they have been around more than 300 years. They are originally from a region far to the north of Vertiel. For a long time, they remained there. The beginning of their conquest is quite recent. We all think that the war started 10 years ago, but in fact, it is much longer, maybe even the last century. It took them a long time to escape from their region of origin. The dwarf kingdoms were in their way, and they put up a fight.
You had me going there for a moment. I'm sorry, but dwarves? Save it for the children.
But you're wrong. The dwarves did exist, but the Ice Lords exterminated them.
Right. And I bet they also massacred all those poor dragons and goblins.
You know that dragons and goblins don't exist. You're impossible.
Do they have any weaknesses that we could exploit?
Not that I know of. All of the Ice Lords are powerful sorcerers. They are far more powerful than all the other magicians. They have an unlimited army. If they have a weakness, it's not that.
But in spite of all of this, you think there is something?
I do. We often imagine the Ice Lords as a vast megalithic power. But that's not true. In fact, they desperately hunger for power. Just because they pooled their powers to create the Deadwalker army doesn't mean they like each other. Their balance of power is precarious. As soon as they are done with destroying Vertiel, they'll probably start killing each other.
Sure, but that doesn't help us much if we have to wait until they're done.
Perhaps there is a way to stir up the tensions between them. Even if for the moment, I can't think how.
Так, ну что ж, вопросы закончились.
Let's change the subject.
Так, ага. Теперь у нас вот еще что есть. Ну давайте еще послушаем.
Do you know what happened to me in the temple?
I'm still searching for an explanation. Something must have gone wrong during the ritual.
But what was the god's damn ritual supposed to do?
The Red Scribes have always had quite limited magical skills. I believe that the ritual was meant to increase their magical powers to try and find a way of combating the Ice Lords. But instead of channeling pure energy into each of the scribes, the ritual called forth a conscience that settled in you.
Your father called it a demon. How come I got stuck with it?
A demon? That reminds me of the old texts, but I couldn't say if that's what it is. You were standing right there, so that force flowed into you. It could have been my father, or any of us, I guess.
Well, that's just great. What do I do now?
I would dearly like to help you. But even though I have searched through all the texts I have here, I can find no reference to anything like this experience of yours, at least for now. But until we have found out more, you must try to fight against this thing. Do not allow it to get comfortable. We don't know what its intentions are or how powerful it is. It could be dangerous for you.
Я запомню твои слова.
So then, any result from the study of all these creatures of the swamps?
Well, I'd really like to meet some of these creatures who live here. But for now...
What can you tell me about the World Heart?
Many of the people on Vertiel believe that the World Heart is just a myth. There are many different beliefs from one region to another, but most of them have more in common than not.
The World Heart is where life and prosperity are born. I've already heard that crap.
If we were to imagine Vertiel as a living being, the World Heart is exactly what it sounds like, the heart of the world. It's what keeps the world alive. It beats, and Vertiel lives from its energy. If you wish, I can try to learn more about it. Come back and see me in a few days.
Ну что ж.
We need to talk about your combat style.
What do you want me to do?
In fact, you fight just great. Don't change a thing.
All right.
Ладно. Ну что ж, все. Поговорили.
They're all around us.
Ой-ё.
What a fascinating creature. I have to make some notes on it.
Ой-ой-ой, какие ж вы мощные. Иди сюда, летающий паучок или кто-то там. Получай! О, тихо. Давай, 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 еще чуть. Чуть-чуть. Готово. Так, ну что ж, не зря мы взяли с собой эту девицу. Она у нас лекарь. Это хорошо.
This swamp is teeming with life. I can't wait to discover all the species that live here. There is so much to be learned. I thought that nature had taken over again here in the swamp, but I sense there is something else.
Ой-ё. О, что это за тентакли? О, так, ладно. Но к ним близко лучше не подходить. Гори! Так, ладно. Мост разрушен, поэтому придется идти в обход. Ладно. Так, тщательнее осмотрим карту. Значит, как нам пойти? Можно либо обойти длинным путем, либо коротким. Хорошо. Ну, давайте уже пойдем так. Надеюсь, я не пожалею о своем выборе. Ну, как мы идем не туда? Мы идем в обход, барышня. Так, нас заметили. Это печально. Так, мы можем приказывать спутникам. Хорошо. Чё за... А ну иди сюда. Готово. Ай-яй-яй, зацепила. Иди сюда. Стреляю как. Все, готово. Сняли. Так, возьмем покрупнее. Иди сюда. Фу. Здрасте. Так, вас тут много, валим отсюда. Так, ладно, давайте искать другой путь в деревню. С теми противниками мы разберемся попозже. Фух. О. Ломаем.
I still haven't thanked you for everything you did at the temple.
Well, same here, I think. Now, what did you people do to me anyway? Where does this power come from?
It's amazing we have no records of these animals.
Так, тут куча противников.
I hear they call you Vulcan? Why is that?
Look, all us freeborn blades have a nickname. We leave the past behind, and whatever we were before doesn't matter in the company.
So what do you do now then?
You know, I blow things up. Stuff like that.
Так, ну вот и все. Мы, пробиваясь через кучу противников, дошли до деревни.
Hey, this guy's fucking fearless. Let's help him out before it goes bad for him.
Так, разумеется, спасем. Так, давайте сменим оружие. Давай, давай, бегом, бегом. Тихо, блокируем. Готово.
Despite his determination, the knight was in an awkward position. He thanks the mercenary for having assisted him in his task. If he can trust the rumors that he hears around the village, he has before him the one called Vulcan. He has the pleasure of welcoming the mercenary to the village.
And you are?
The knight is called Randval, last survivor of the Order of the Ember Knights, and now protector of Valvenor, this village. The new arrival is most welcome, but the steward is waiting in the old village inn.
Так, ну что ж, мы получили новый левел. Так, давайте разобьем пенек. Забрали оттуда всякие вкусности. И заходим в деревню. Деревня Валвенор. Хорошо. Нам нужно идти к старости. Но, разумеется, кому в деревню еще можно идти. Посмотрим, что он от нас хочет. Но узнавать мы это будем уже в следующем выпуске, так как уже это длится довольно продолжительно. Вот, так что я продолжу позже познавать эту игру.
This is Valvenor. It is not a beautiful place, but for the time being, it seems to be unknown to the Deadwalker army. This village has known better days. Before the war, it was popular among the rich hunters who came to enjoy the ample game in the swamps. Today, the only visitors are refugees, who are sadly too numerous for the scant resources of the village. A small healing house provides comfort and succor to the injured. The knight is quite fond of Mirana, the healer who runs the place. Does the mercenary see the building opposite? It was once an inn, but it is now the residence of the steward, the man now in charge of the village.
This is a very large inn, considering the size of the village. There must have been many visitors before the war.
With any luck, we might get to sleep in a real bed tonight. I'm going.
Так, ну что ж. Идти к старости, как я уже говорил, будем в следующем выпуске. Так что сохраняемся. И уже встретимся в следующем выпуске, друзья. А на сегодня все. Всем пока-пока.